everyone, and welcome again to Leaders Uncut. This is Catherine Oaks, your host. And today it is my pleasure to welcome John Karsant, who is the founder and CEO of LevelUp Leads. Hi, John. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. That's wonderful. So, John, tell us about your story with LevelUp. Why did you start the company? What is your vision? What is your mission? If you could give us a little bit of a background here, that would be great.
So about 10 years ago, I started working remotely in solar lead generation. So that was my first taste of getting into sales and leads. And yeah, it was a great experience. I worked for a small startup. I learned a ton. And ever since then, I was doing full sales cycle roles. So a lot of hunting, finding and sourcing my own leads, setting up calls, running the calls, making sales, all the way up to actually getting contracts signed, getting payment processed, and in some cases, even doing fulfillment after the case. So I worked at several roles that different startups for doing full sales cycle. And then about 6 years ago, I started working for a lead gen agency. And that's where I got a taste for how this stuff works. And most of it's B2B in the tech space, helping them do sales development, set up appointments so their team has selling opportunities. So after some experience there, I spun off and started LevelUp Leads about 3 years ago. So I've been in this space directly for 6 years and then just in sales for the past 9-10 years. And so 3 years ago, started LevelUp Leads and started with myself. And right now we're close to 50 people. We have roughly 50 clients. Mostly are, about 75% are a software SaaS product in the tech space, but we do work with really any company we can serve, and we have service-based companies as well.
Well, that's wonderful. Congratulations. That's already pretty incredible to have reached that level so fast.
Thank you.
Believe me, I can totally understand that. What is your main differentiator? What really is the trigger that creates interest from your audience?
Yeah, there's a few little things. There's not just going to be like one thing that stands out, but we've learned over time there are little things that make a difference. For example, one being hiring native speaking callers. That's just one. So before we had fluent or people that spoke well, but they had a little bit of an accent. And so a lot of our calling, which is our number one channel right now, is cold calling, is in the United States. And just by having native English speakers has already made a difference in our results. Another one is getting now native English speakers with more experience. So you're not having to do as much training. They can jump right in, understand what clients do quicker, and then it leads to better results. So that's just one thing, like you learn over time about how you can stand out or do better. And essentially those people are on the front ends or on the front lines in terms of what's working and what's not working in the campaigns, because they're talking directly to the prospects. So that's one. The others is just the processes we have in place, the tools, the ability to set campaigns and make changes and implement things just pretty quick, like in a few days, sometimes a week, depending on what we're doing. So it's a combination of those things.
Okay, great. So you just mentioned processes. That was going to be my next question, because lots of people, they wonder, is it going to be complex? How long is it going to take for the campaign to be up and running? How expensive is it? Can I afford it, right? So can you answer those two last questions?
Those are all fair questions, right? And everyone's going to have a different answer on what's cheap, what's expensive. It totally depends on the company. As for getting set up, so after, let's just say we have a few calls, we determine it's a good fit. There are a few different packages depending on a few different channels we work. Right now we do SEO, cold calling, cold emailing, and LinkedIn. Those are the main channels that we're offering. But once we get all that out of the way and decide on what we want to do moving forward, we have an onboarding process. And so that's when it gets passed from sales over to our fulfillment team. And each client has, on our team, we have roughly 5 to 6 people that we assign to work on their campaigns. And they're all responsible for certain things along the way. One might be responsible for the calling, one might be a copywriter, another one might be responsible for finding and sourcing the data, things like that. But from the time we have that onboarding call to launch, it's typically 10 to 12 days.
Okay.
And then one cool thing that we do with our clients is their monthly cycle, their start date doesn't start until we launch. So there is no charge for onboarding, which a lot of companies will do.
Yes, I like that because it is often a barrier to entry. Do you have to have a long-term contract with you? That's one question. And then another question I would have for you is, that's the one thing I was challenged with similar services in the past, is the people that were helping me out did not have a good knowledge of my industry. So I had to educate them a lot about the industry, which takes time and requires a lot of edits of the communication points in order for them to be efficient.
It depends. We do everything in our control to get people up to speed fast based on what the client is doing. And some of that has to do with the client giving us that knowledge. Some clients we work with, they have like very little marketing materials, and so they have to go out and create some more. We're kind of like, say that this isn't acceptable. you gotta give us a little bit more to work with. But some clients do have really great marketing materials, and so what we'll do is we'll review those. We'll write the scripts. We have internal training, so we have an SDR manager to help train them. We also have a coaching call with the client, and so they can essentially pitch us on their product and hear how they talk about what they do, and that's helpful too, because what's in writing may not always be how they talk about it. And so that's what we do on our end, and then there's ongoing training, and then we share recordings with the client. So we do what's in our control here, and then in terms of assigning our SDRs with the client, we always try to mix in assign based off of their experience. So it could be maybe they studied something or they worked in a past industry, like maybe they worked with solar and the client does something in solar. So we'll try to mix that or assign appropriately. And the others is like, have they actually called on those? Maybe it's a past client that was in the medical space, and so then they have a client in the medical space. So we'll try to match them that way.
I love it. So you are not industry specific, right? You cover a broad range.
Yep.
Good. That's important. That's good to know. So this is great. I mean, I'm impressed by what you're doing with LevelUp Leads. That's wonderful, because it's not just cold calling. It's also SEO. It is LinkedIn. So it seems to be a multi-pronged approach that would probably be very efficient.
Yeah, well, if you bring up SEO, that's something that I think a lot of people don't necessarily put that much attention into. But if you want to grow organically over time, that is something you need to invest in. If you want, like over time, if people can search for something related to what you do and you show up and you can start getting inbound traffic because of that on Google or whatever it may be, like it's going to take a little while, but that is so important down the road. If you have a vision of growing your company, that's something you need to invest in now. And you may not see the results for 8 months to a year, but it's something worth investing in.
It's something that works very well, but you're right. You have to be patient, and it has to be understood that it is a long-term investment that will pay off. But you cannot say after 2 or 3 months, it does not work, I quit.
No, it's yeah. So with our clients, I think this is a question you asked earlier, but with our clients, we have a 3-month commitment, and then it rolls over into a month-to-month.
Okay.
And that's just to be able to make changes. But we talk about SEO taking a while and you have to be patient. One thing with the calling or the cold emailing is you can see results right away, or at least get feedback and traction and make adjustments
I love it.
Within a few weeks. But
yes, depending on the needs, exactly. You can pick whatever works for you at that time. So that's wonderful. So what were your biggest challenges, John, as to build LevelUp Leads?
There's always challenges, that's for sure. I don't think any business, I think even the most successful ones like that you look up to, that you see as such a beautiful brand, and they have challenges too. Right? Isn't Google facing massive lawsuits right now? Like, so there's always challenges. One thing is, so for us is we're a service-based business, and so you're always dealing with people, and so you have different personalities, different work ethics, capacities and then skill levels. And so it's a matter of trying to hire, not make mistakes with hiring on our end, things like that, getting them trained up. And then also on the client side of things is understanding who's going to be a good fit, who has the budget, who's likely to stay on and be a long-term client. And so some of it's on our end is like weeding out who's going to be a good fit and who's not going to be a good fit. So there's challenges on both sides, the client end and managing their expectations, because everyone wants more, right? That's natural. Everyone wants more leads. They want the best bang for their buck.
Oh,
So
for sure, but there's opportunity because I think it has been a challenge for most businesses is to set up efficient systems that generate the right results pretty quickly because time is obviously very important. And with a budget that is also reasonable because that is also is a challenge for a lot of companies. So it seems like
yeah,
this is the type of solution that you are offering.
yeah, yeah. So to speak on that point is budget. Everyone's going to have different budgets, and in some cases, you may, and also deal sizes is important, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a deal size that's $5,000 versus a deal size that's 50 or $500,000, what you can afford and how much is a meeting and a sale worth to you is different. And so you got to explain that to people as
Right.
one meeting to you is not the same as one meeting to another company. So we need to build out these targets individually based off of you in your sales cycle, in your deal size to make sense. So this makes sense for you, not for the other company because it's different.
Yeah, right. Well, I like the fact that you offer a customized solution that fits the needs of each of your clients, which is I think they're very important. Great.
Thank you.
So you spoke about what you've done, your challenges. Now, what are the opportunities ahead that you see as the biggest opportunities for you to catch on?
I think the biggest opportunity and something we've been doing better at, but there's still a lot more opportunity here, is moving upstream in terms of more established companies. This is more of a need to outsource some of the sales development work. At the end of the day, everyone wants sales and they want to maximize their return on investment. So there are certainly pros and cons to working with an outsourced agency, and I try to be upfront about that. But something I wasn't thinking big enough when I first started is I was always focusing on smaller companies because I thought that's where the need was. But really there's needs for those bigger companies too. We even have a few clients that are publicly traded and have thousands and thousands of employees. I would have never thought we would have had clients like that. I just thought the need was smaller. But what I've realized is those bigger companies, they might be a little bit harder to bring on, but they typically stay for longer, and then they're more established. And so the sales or the sales development and appointment setting is easier because they know who you are.
Yes.
Whereas if it's like a small no-name company, it's much more challenging. So that's an area of opportunity and something we've been working on.
I love it. You're right. So many business entrepreneurs, they think that they have to start with small businesses, but it is not always the case. And cash is king, right? Cash flow is really important. So when you can have some type of guarantee that you will generate that cash month after month with longer term contracts, this is very often what larger businesses allow you to do.
Yeah, and also it's like, there's no guarantees if it's going to work.
Right.
But once someone sees that it's working, they're likely to add on more, right? Okay, this is working. Like, let's do more of it. And so that's what we've seen.
Okay, that's wonderful. So you're a business leader, you're an entrepreneur, you have lots of expertise. What's the one piece of advice you would like to share with my audience?
Don't get stuck in your ways. Be flexible and expect that things are going to change. And when I say that, I mean like the model or what you're offering. And so if you're not thinking ahead of the way things are adjusting in the future, when I say adjusting, like you just can't do the same thing over and over again and expect it's going to work forever. And that will vary depending on your business and but this is generalizing. And I'll use cold outreach, for example. Like what was working 4 years ago isn't working today. And so you kind of have to always be adjusting. You may have to offer different solutions to stay ahead of the curve. And that's one thing I certainly had to do.
That's great advice. Very important. I love it. Yes. All right. So if someone is interested in getting in touch with you, how do they do that?
A few different ways. You can check me out on LinkedIn, John Karsant. I think I'm the only one with the first and last name. You can go to our website, LevelUpLeads.io, or you can send me an email, john@LevelUpLeads.io.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It was really great listening about your story, what you offer, because I think lots of benefits for businesses here, a big need. And I love the fact that you have people located in the United States that are helping you out here. That's a big, big advantage for sure.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, John. Everyone else, thank you so much again for joining us here. And we will share this video on LinkedIn and on our YouTube channel. And we will see you next time.